Okay, so my battery ran out on me on the last video, but I had already decided these new updates I'm adding today, I'm not going to put them in one long video as I did with my first video, because that probably turned a lot of people away and not wanting to watch it because it was an hour and 20 minutes long. So this is the next video for my second update. October 15th, 2021 is today's date. Okay, so I had Ted DiBiase sign this at the gathering in July. It's like the third or fourth time I've met him, but I never had him sign this page yet. So this is the last place for him to sign in the book. That was in Charlotte, North Carolina. He had already signed this page several years ago. Nothing new here. And then there's Molly Holly. This was at the gathering also in July. And then another Bolo Mongol, Bill Eadie. He signed this earlier this year at Tommy's store, Tommy Fierro of 80s Wrestling. Bill Eadie, they did I believe both Demolition, they were there, did a store appearance at the Wrestling Collector. Nothing new here. Okay, the Savio Vega, that's a new signature. So I mentioned in the other video he signed 4 times, and this was one of them, the Nation of Domination. He did a Wrestling Collector store appearance in New Jersey. It was, look back in my notes here, April 24th. Okay. So I mentioned Darren Young in the previous video. This is another spot that he signed, the Nexus page. That was a virtual signing with Tommy, 80s Wrestling. That was in May. Yeah, Wildfire, Tommy Rich, added him. He was at the gathering just back in July in Charlotte. And then so was Randy Rose, added another Midnight Express. So Norvell Austin was supposed to have been at that event also, but backed out at the last minute. And he would have been the last one to sign this page. As far as the old Midnight Express goes, he's the only one I needed, but he wasn't able to be there. So Bobby Eaton and Jim Cornette, Stan Lane, Dennis Condrey, and now Randy Rose added. Yeah, Orient Express. That was another virtual signing with 80s Wrestling Con. Kato and Tanaka were there. They signed that together on the same day. That was... when was that? March 28th. That was right after I passed the book along to Tommy so he could do that. Alright, the Patriot. That was earlier this year at the big event in New York, back in March. And then sadly he passed away just a few months after that. So I was thankful to get to meet him. Another great one we lost this year. I was very thankful that I got to meet him. That was probably his last his last in-person meet and greet, I would guess it was back in October of 2019 at Tommy's 80s Wrestling Con 2. The main reason I went was so I could meet him, and I'm glad that I did. This isn't a new autograph, it's in my first video, but I just wanted to make mention of that. It's one of my favorite autographs in the whole book. And then there's about 20 or so pay-per-view pages to skip through. Okay. Terri Runnels. Nick from Captain's Corner got this one for me. He did a virtual signing with her right before the gathering, just about a week or two before the gathering, when he returned the book to me. Okay, those aren't new. Princess Victoria. That's another virtual signing that Nick did with Captain's Corner. Very glad to get that one. And then there's the third page that Darren Young signed, Primetime Players. Already got Titus O'Neil a couple years ago. Okay, Rebecca, she was at the big event. From what I understood, I think that was maybe her first ever convention appearance. And she was just so pleased to find out that she was actually in the encyclopedia when I handed it over to her to sign. So it might actually be the first encyclopedia she ever signed. She was very nice. Nothing new. I saw where Rick Martel did a private signing just recently, like a couple of weeks ago, and I hope that means he'll want to come out and do real meet and greets again soon. Really hope. Nothing new yet. Oh, there we go. There's two. So Samu, he signed of these two. He signed first. This was a virtual signing with Tommy in New Jersey, and then I met Sam Houston at the gathering in July. Very happy to meet him. Another guy that I grew up watching in the '80s. And then the main Savio Vega page when he appeared at Tommy's Wrestling Collector store in New Jersey. Tommy got that one for me. Nothing new. Okay. So Deuce, Domino, and Cherry, when I met them at the Wrestling Universe store in Flushing, New York, also picked up the Sim Snuka autograph. Snitsky, that's a new one. It wasn't my fault. Met him at the big event. He was great to talk to. Stan Hansen, that was another virtual signing with Tommy at 80s Wrestling. Another one of the main reasons why I decided to let him hold on to my book for a few months. Him and Ken Patera. think that was in April of this year. And there's the third Luke Gallows signature from the big event back in March. Terri Runnels, one of Nick's virtual signings. Nick from Captain's Corner. This was back in July, right before we met up at the gathering, and he gave me my book back. Alright, so then Tommy Dreamer, when we were flying home from the gathering from Charlotte, we landed at the airport, and Tommy Dreamer happened to be at the airport ready to fly out to Charlotte, and met him there in the main terminal area at the airport. Went up and talked to him for 5 or 10 minutes, and he was gracious enough to sign the book for us. Me and my son, that is. Okay, so that Back in the Saddle event that was in Allentown, Pennsylvania, Nick got this Akeem signature for me. I had another guy who I previously met, but at the time I met him, I wasn't having people sign their tag team or faction pages, so glad to get this one too. Nick did that for me, Nick from Captain's Corner. Getting close to the end now. Alright, so yeah, all three of these signatures are new. So here's another Big Show signature. This was from the big event in March, and then Ken Shamrock right next to him. They were at the same event. Got those signatures the same day. And then Mick Foley, Mankind, he signed this at the gathering in July. And then Jimmy Valiant, he's another one I'd previously met, but never had him sign this spot in the book. We met him at an All-Star Wrestling event earlier this year in February in Harts, West Virginia. That's All-Star Wrestling, Gary Dameron's company. Nothing new here. Okay, Wendi Richter. So when I went to the big event in March, and then I met up with Tommy to hand off the book to him so he could get several more signatures at his virtual signings. I met up with him on the day that Wendi Richter was there. So I got to meet her. She signed my book for me. And then that's when Tommy began collecting more signatures for about the next 4 months following that. So Wendi Richter started that off at the virtual signings. Very happy to get to meet her. Another great one from the 80s. That was in March. It was a day or two after the big event. And then the fourth Big Show signature, he signed as the Giant for the NWO page. Really coming along nicely. I'm saving this spot here for Hollywood Hogan. You saw earlier, I did meet him once, but I just didn't have him sign anywhere but his main page. I should have done differently. And then David Crockett added this signature at the gathering in July in Charlotte. It's glad to get that one. Let's see. Kendall Windham, he's another one that was supposed to be at the gathering but backed out at the last minute. So that one should have been an autograph there. I think there's only one more. No, there might be two more left. Nope, three more. So Mark Lawrence, he was at the gathering, and he doesn't have a picture in this book, so I just had him sign the WCCW page. So that's Mark Lawrence right there. And then also at the gathering was Eric Embry. I know of one more left on the last page. I don't know if there's any others. Oh, yes, Eric Rowan. So he's another one that I had previously met at a WrestleMania Access in New York back in 2019, but I didn't have him sign the Wyatt family page. But he appeared the same day as Darren Young on the 80s Wrestling Virtual signing back in May. So we added the Rowan signature here right next to Luke Harper's signature. And then later this year at WrestleCade, Braun Strowman is a scheduled guest. So we'll add his signature, and then hopefully someday Bray Wyatt. Okay, and the last one, Zack Ryder. So this was the All-Star Wrestling event in Beckley, West Virginia, which was, let me look it up, August 7th in Beckley, West Virginia. That's Gary Dameron's company. Alright, so that's my latest update. That's 100 new signatures since last year in October. I mentioned earlier that I'm in a hotel room. I'm actually in a hotel near Baltimore because tomorrow I'm going to the Baltimore Celeb Fest 2. Pick up JBL, Glamour Girls, Rockin' Robin, several people tomorrow. But the quietness of the hotel is a good place to do these update videos rather than at home where I would be interrupted most likely. Or would have to wait and do these like well after midnight when everyone's asleep. So, I'll see you again soon with the update from the Baltimore Celeb Fest, happening tomorrow, October 16th, 2021. Thank you guys for watching my video.